I have a story, and it is literally shocking. Let me set the stage. It was 5 years ago, and thankfully that's long enough where I can avoid any repercussions. It was 5 years ago, and I was an aspiring science guy. And part of being a science guy is you need to get jobs at different science places, and I landed a job at the biggest science center that was around. And that's a huge thing for the career, at least for my career anyway. It was really important because they have all the big giant science toys and they actually spend some money on those kinds of things, but they don't have that much money. Anyway, my job was to do the sleepovers, okay? So I would take youth groups that they would come in when the center would close down, and I would sort of tour them through, show them all the different things inside the science center, and I would do the science demonstration. Now, everything was going great for months until I had this one group of girl guides. They were the Sparks. That's an age group that's, I think, ages, I believe it was 7 to 9. So really young girl guide scouts. And I was showing them around the center, okay? They were having a blast. They were looking at stuff. They were cute. I was cute. It was just adorable, and it was great, and it was fun until we got to the science demonstration. And that's when things went a little awry, let's just say. Especially when I brought out the giant metal mushroom. It's called a Graaff Generator. It's the thing that, if you've probably seen it before, where people are supposed to put their hands on it, you turn it on, and their hair kind of goes up like this, and then it, it's fun and funny and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's a great machine, but sometimes it doesn't always work as intended. Alright, I should explain how it works. A Graaff Generator looks like a giant metal mushroom. It's got sort of a big metal top, and then it's got some kind of a tube on the just underneath that. So how it works basically is inside that metal tube there's a giant rubber band, okay? And that rubber band is on a conveyor belt, so it's constantly, turning around and around and around. That belt brings the electrons from the bottom. So there's usually some kind of a brush or something on the very bottom of it that's connected to the ground, and the ground has all the electrons and things like that. Anyway, the conveyor belt rubs on whatever is at the bottom there, and it brings those electrons, those pieces of electricity, onto the conveyor belt. Now remember, the conveyor belt is made out of a rubber band, which is rubber. So the electrons get stuck there, right? Electrons can't move in rubber. And they get stuck on the bottom, and then it conveyor belts up to the top, and then those electrons, when they get to the top, they meet a metal brush, okay? And the metal, as you know, conducts electricity. So those pieces of electricity touch the metal, and then they get into the metal brush. Well, that metal brush is then connected to the big giant outside, the metal mushroom part on the outside. So once it hits those brushes, it sort of travels freely throughout all the metal. And it builds up more and more and more. So it builds up more of those electrons, more of those pieces of static electricity, and then eventually it builds up so much that it has to discharge. And that is when it can get a little bit dicey, because when it discharges, all the electrons go at the same time, and there's sort of a spark or a jump, or to be more specific, it's a lightning bolt. Right, back to the demonstration. Anyway, to catch the electric charge from it, I have a grounding rod. So it's a rod that's metal and it's connected to the ground, obviously, and that's what the electricity is supposed to jump to. And when I put it close to it, especially when I start the demonstration, it's about maybe this far away. It's a good safe distance, right? It takes about 2 seconds for the big metal mushroom Graaff Generator to build up its charge. If it's this far away, it's about 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and I'm talking and I'm showing them this and I'm explaining things, and I bring it maybe further away to, about this far, and then it's, 1, 2, 3, but it's a bigger, so I don't do it too much, but I bring it back closer, just this far away, 2 seconds, nice and safe. Well, I'm talking and I'm explaining and I'm doing my lesson, and I'm, in the back of my mind, as I'm talking, I'm always looking for it, right? I'm always listening for the 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but as I'm talking more and more and more, something happens in my internal counter where it's kind of 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's weird. And I realize that I've kind of walked sort of far away from the Graaff Generator in the middle of my talking. I don't think too much of it because usually it'll discharge a bit later and it's usually okay. But then, as I'm talking, I'm going blah, 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 blah. I then count 5, 6. Uh-oh. And, you know, once I'm sort of aware of my surroundings and I sort of look and I realize I am quite far away. I can see it. It's in the distance and my hand is sort of angled to the side, right? So it's even further away. 7, 8. Okay. I realize that's pretty bad. So I turn, I grab the grounding rod, I try to bring it closer, I kind of jut myself forward and, you know, 9, 10, and I can just, you know, feel the electricity in the air. The last thing that I remember is that the hair on both of my arms and the back of my neck and the top of my head and my soul patch, it was all standing up. I had a soul patch. It was a weird time in my life. Anyway, it was all standing up on end and I could feel it everywhere. The air was soaked with electricity. And then the next thing I know, ba-boom! Okay? The lightning bolts kind of shoots up into the banister and then it goes into all the different stage lights that we have, and you know, in an instant, $150,000, wait, no, that's not right, $1,500, so 10 $1,500 lights, stage lights, all at the same time, burn out. And with them, my job security. And I'm sitting there and I am just stunned. There's a beat where nothing happened, and then all of a sudden, as I'm, you know, thinking, woe is me, the kids just slow clap and then, you know, bigger clap, and then, you know, before I know it, I have like 30 Girl Scouts all just going, yeah, woo, what a great, oh my gosh, that was amazing, woo! And I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm just looking at them, kind of trying to see, okay, there's no 7-year-old bodies that have hit the ground, so I think we're okay. And I, you know, oh yeah, great, sure, yeah, I totally meant to do that. That's sort of the grand finale, yeah. Of course, that's not what happened. And they were just going crazy. They had so much fun, and that was awesome. And I'm glad nobody got hurt, but I still realized that all those stage lights were burned out, and that's a lot of money, and I need this job. So the next day, I had to go and talk to my boss. And I am speaking with her. I explained, oh, you know, there was this, you know, there's an incident, and the lightning went up into the banisters. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. It's okay. It's okay. Nobody got hurt. But, you know, we need to look at this from a safety point of view, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, I'm explaining this to her, and I'm kind of sweating. And I think that, you know, she understood that, and she just sort of took it all in. And this is probably the most shocking part of my whole story, is that instead of, you know, leaning into me, she just kind of said, that sounds like it was really cool. Sounds like it's really cool. And that's kind of showing how important those genuine moments are when you're teaching people, right? I'm sure those kids will probably never forget that lesson, and I'm sure I know for sure that I'm never going to forget it either. And that's really something that I appreciate about my boss at the time. It was a good lesson on her. And then later on, of course, we went and we fixed all the safety issues and looked at it critically and everything like that. Now, I have one question though for you if you're watching this video, and if you stayed along here for the whole story. I'm just kind of wondering, you know, why did that happen? Because I've had it before where the grounding rod has been away from the Graaff generator and it doesn't usually discharge into anything else. And the grounding rod was much closer than the banisters up there, but it still ended up discharging into the banisters that were, you know, 10 plus feet away. And so I'm just kind of wondering if anybody knows, if you could maybe comment, why did this happen? What's an explanation for this? Because this has always been sort of a science mystery for me, and I've really wanted to know why. So maybe somebody with more knowledge than I have can comment, and we can have a discussion about why and what the heck went on there. So if you can do that, that would be fantastic. Thank you.